James Gunn's DCU returns for the second film in the franchise, Supergirl. Spin-off of Superman, pretty directly. Aiden, what is the plot?
Supergirl is an adaptation, a loose adaptation of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Kara, Supergirl, is on a bender in space and meets a little girl whose family was killed by a human trafficking, weird-looking guy. And together the two go on a quest where Kara sort of takes in the child and says revenge isn't going to make you feel better, but I also need to come fight this guy so I can get the antidote for crypto. And they go planet to planet and bump into Jason Momoa as Lobo, who is a character that probably should have never left the 90s, but is here because Jason Momoa asked really nicely and he's a nice guy. And stuff, action, adventure, galaxy hopping. They meet Babu Frick from Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Grok. Connor, what'd you think of Supergirl?
I liked Supergirl, unlike most critics. I didn't love Supergirl. The first 30 minutes of the film is a pretty direct adaptation of the comic Woman of Tomorrow. Supergirl's on her bender. Pretty much everything up to the bus. They get on the space bus and the guy's leaning on her snoring. But then when the mercenaries show up, we start to diverge quite a bit from there. I think in the comic's really boring. And it's a great comic. And it has beautiful art. But I don't think it would make for great superhero film slop, which is ultimately what they need to do. So it starts kind of diverging from there. Lobo shows up. Lobo was kind of a pointless ad. I mean, he kind of would work maybe on one scene or something, if he showed up and then he left or something, but the movie's more or less supposed to be a serious character arc for Kara and I can't remember what the girl's name is right now. But it's supposed to be kind of a character arc for these two. And I think the arc progresses fairly well. I think the arc progresses fairly well. Supergirl is pretty nihilistic after the death of her entire family on Condor. So she's really sad. And then the girl's family, to reflect this, the girl's family was killed. And Supergirl is telling her not to take revenge. And then in the end, they start to realize revenge is bad. It's the arc of the comics. It's just a little more clumsy because they had a bunch of extra fight scenes and they had Lobo to make some Lobo quips about how he doesn't give a shit and wants to kill everybody and whatnot.
Yeah.
Lobo felt really out of place. I think he's kind of he's one of the thorns in my side. I think the stuff that was adapted, it's a very good comic, but obviously they had to diverge for the movie. And I think the stuff adapted from the comic is really good because it's a very good, very boring comic book. I only say it's very boring to kind of note that, it wouldn't work as a movie very well. But I think they did a good job adapting the start and end. I thought Millie Alcock, whatever, I don't know. She,
Alcock, I think?
Alcock, yeah.
Alcock?
Whatever. She was really good as Supergirl and a good addition to the cast of the DCU. I thought her performance was really good. There was a lot of cringe-inducing lines in the script, but she is a 23-year-old edgelord girl who wants to drink to get over her issues she has with her family, letting her survive and basically forcing her to survive on a foreign planet after they said, "We made you an escape pod, see you later, kiddo," and launched her off.
Yeah.
Another thing with space is that there's a lot more kind of power management, so you can kind of RNG reasons that the villains aren't just immediately fucking destroyed like they are in the climax when she has her powers.
Yeah.
That's one hard thing with Superman. There's no good way to like get around it with Superman and Supergirl. It's just kind of how it's gonna be. But I thought they did something there. They did well enough on that, and yeah, I think my main contention is kind of the movie stuff they had to add in to make it a comic book movie instead of just adapting the comic more forthrightly. You add the motivation of Crypto. I don't think Crypto was in the comic at all, as far as I can remember. I could be wrong. It's been a while, but
They wanted to put the dog on the poster.
they wanted to put the dog on the poster. I was really concerned, and one thing I was happy that they avoided is like I thought when they're like, oh, Crypto is poisoned, it would be like every 5 minutes we'd get a tear-jerking scene where the light is leaving Crypto's eyes and tears are dripping down and stuff. And the medic lady is like shaking her head like the dog's gonna die if Supergirl doesn't hurry up. But it's an excuse to add a ticking clock, because if there wasn't a ticking clock, then there's no reason Supergirl couldn't just slowly meander around the galaxy for 25 issues before she kills the guy, as happens in the comic.
Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't 25, I think it was 12, but regardless of that, I think that was kind of something they wanted to add a ticking clock angle, so I kind of understand it. Was it a little cheap? Yes. But they didn't overfling it the way I was really concerned they would. I think the middle occasionally got a little bumpy, like they were just sort of awkwardly, I don't know, they were sort of awkwardly like trying to push the plot forward while interjecting as many fight scenes as they possibly could so that they could hit their mandate of this has to be an action movie.
Yeah.
And it didn't always feel entirely necessary. I thought the fight at the end of the second act where Lobo's there was really, I thought that was decent. I thought it was a good way to run the arc. The main villain kills an innocent civilian that, after her parents in desperation poison Supergirl. Supergirl's weakened. Kid tries to kill the villain, but Supergirl kind of hypocritically knows that would take her down a bad path. You know, something that's surprising about this movie that all the critics decided to ignore, but I think it's superior to almost every Marvel movie, is there's something called a character arc in this movie. It's almost foreign in these superhero movies.
That's true.
It's something that we dive over, but
Hey, man.
I do think one thing is, like, the film's like an hour and a half long, and part of the problem is they really the comic gets a little meandering, a little side questy in the comic, and since they wanted to avoid that, but they wanted to hit the beats of the start and the end, I think connecting the parts that they wanted to adapt more directly from the comic, eventually it was a little bit sloppy, because they had to change it to be more cinematic, and I think that's what really makes the second act sort of sloppy. But I like the first and third act quite a bit. One thing that I think is kind of a plot hole, or maybe not a plot hole, but just a stupid plan by the villains, was they go to the yellow and green sun planet, and they're like, we're going to a planet with both yellow and green sun. And it's like, well, thanks for spoiling what's going to happen. She's going to be dying until the yellow sun comes up, and
Yeah.
that is what happened. But for some fucking odd reason, she gets like tricked by pirates so that she would be put on the green planet, transported there. That was fine, but instead of being like transferred to the villain ship, they just don't do that. So then the villains have to like look for her, and since they couldn't find her in time, Supergirl becomes powered up and is able to beat them all with ease.
Yeah.
Which was a little bit of a clumsy way to get to the finale. I almost would have preferred, instead of doing that, maybe you add Lobo, and he's kind of like, you could do like a deal with the devil type of thing, where like the little girl has to be like, okay, I'll help you do blah blah blah. You need me to do blah blah blah. I know where he's at, so you have to help me save Supergirl, and she can be a super weapon or something. I don't know, like make Lobo a little more plot useful, and they kind of half-assed did that, kind of didn't. It was kind of like
Lobo kind of just shows up and they're like, "Do you want to work with us?" And he's like, "No." And then he just kind of happens to be in the places they are, and he doesn't really not help them, but he doesn't really help them either.
Yeah, well, Lobo happens to be at the dive bar they're at and happens to be looking for the same people, which is a bit of an asshole, but beyond that,
and
it's
then
like,
he happens
okay,
to get put in prison.
Well, he was captured by the pirates. They were cooperatively fighting the previous scene, so I mean, that's why he was there. It's a pretty simple line. I wouldn't say it was like the most convoluted ass pull. I know everybody wants to find every reason to hate on this movie. It's not that much. The ass pull is him being there in the first place, I suppose. But hey, I mean, you had an ass pull, a way to put Lobo in it because fucking Jason Momoa.
I don't think the ass pull's necessarily that after he got captured he was there, but maybe the ass pulls that the guy who was strong enough to kill his entire planet got captured by some bandito sex slavers.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a bit of an ass pull. I mean, the thing is, he's just immortal, man, so he has unlimited time. He's like millions of years old.
Yeah, I suppose.
So eventually he was going to get out. The banditos couldn't really do anything. You can cut Lobo's head off, and then he just regrows his body slowly. He's just immortal. He's literally DC's version of Deadpool, and then Deadpool was like refined into a more memey way. And also Lobo's design is very 90s and stuff, so as Lobo started getting pushed out, Deadpool kind of took the niche. Yeah. But it's the same concept for a character. He's like non sequitur. He's a good guy, but everyone also simultaneously knows his fucking reputation as being a super evil bad guy. It's comic book bullfuckery, basically. Yeah. And I don't think Lobo fit for the story they were trying to tell. I don't think they were smart to use enough restraint with Lobo, but they did kind of pull out a lot of bullfuckery to get him there, and he doesn't really fit with the story. I think Man of Tomorrow sounds like it's gonna have a bunch of space shenanigans with Brainiac. Like, why doesn't Superman and Lex Luthor run into Lobo at a bar and he fights a fucking fight scene against Brainiac or something because he's scared Brainiac's gonna fucking take his house over or some shit. I don't know. Make something up. Lobo's spaceship gets destroyed by Brainiac, so he's mad, so he's in a fight scene. Like, obviously you just wanted to ask for a reason to put Lobo in, and I think it would have worked in a more of like a fun action movie than like this movie that's like, we want to have character arcs and be serious and talk about like human trafficking and shit, but at the same time we're mandated
biker man.
We're mandated to put a bunch of fight scenes in, and fucking Jason Momoa has been begging to be Lobo, so I guess we'll just throw him in here.
Yeah.
I don't think it fit the story. It felt like they thought fans would really enjoy seeing Lobo. From like a direction standpoint, and even really from a script standpoint, it's kind of James Gunn light.
Yeah.
They explain why she listens to the pop hits so they could ass pull it in. I don't know. Especially the comic. The comic has this like almost like 1930s like Art Deco style to it. So I didn't really 100% love the 80s pop, but I suppose you can't really do Art Deco style in live action. It wouldn't have made sense unless they really committed to the bit. So I mean, I think it almost, even though technically both this story and the comic book take place in modern times, it almost feels like the comic almost felt like some sort of period piece. Like, it reminded me of a lot of the artwork you'd see at like the old world fairs and shit, where it's like opulent and angelic and all sorts of weird shit. Where here it's like, okay, this is a poppy comic book movie, so they had to shift the goalpost. Ultimately, I think people are way too harsh on this. I mean, at the same time, this scored under The Marvels, which was just plain old fucking horrible. Like, it was edited bad. The movie's fucking awful, incomprehensible, also like 90 minutes. It beat Wonder Woman 84, but I mean Wonder Woman 84 is just a fucking horrible movie.
Yeah,
Wonder Woman is just a shittier remake of Captain America: The First Avenger, but
yep.
People liked it more, supposedly. I don't know if it was the Israel or the woman factor. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I do think that was a factor because it was like all Black Panther and Wonder Woman. It's a twofer. We're really breaking boundaries, and like that's cool. Like it was unique at the time, and it really, I mean, it did kind of break grounds because previous female comic book movies were the original, far worse Supergirl movie where they're fighting over some lumberjack plumber, her and some 55-year-old date rapist witch, and then there's the fucking Catwoman movie where there's the super evil perfume, so Catwoman has to become a superhero to kill the evil perfume woman. So to see Wonder Woman, which actually had a woman with some level of dignity, it's a decent adaptation of Captain America: The First Avenger. But my point is, like, you know,
maybe Supergirl
I think the second act
in the CW's Supergirl. You don't know.
Maybe the second act is really clumsy, but I feel like a lot of people go into this not having read the comic book. This is pretty much exactly what I expected. I expected them to take. I had some moments from the comic in my head. I said they're gonna take this, like the bus scene. I knew there was no way in hell James Gunn would produce a movie that didn't include that, and the kind of party girl Supergirl at the start that's sort of lost in the world on the Red Planet because she's depressed, blah blah blah. I knew that was the basis, and then I figured the last like 5 minutes of the story. I think it's just a really good end of the arc, so I figured they'd adapt that one for one, and I was correct. And I suspected they would bring Lobo in and he'd feel slightly out of place, and then I also suspected they would awkwardly have to interject a bunch of random action scenes and make shit up for the entire second act.
Yeah.
And I was correct, so it was actually 100% what I expected, and I felt it was adequate. I do feel like a lot of people probably see the marketing, which is Supergirl sitting there, and we're expecting it to be Superman but girl version, which is fair because that's how they marketed it. So unless you're a weird autistic person like me who reads comic books, you might not know what exactly you're gonna get, and then just be really confused what the fuck is happening and why she doesn't want to be Supergirl the whole time. Actually, in the comics, she's a lot more openly just fine with being Supergirl. They added a lot of like origin depression thing. That was kind of a pull. That was like very moderately there, if I remember correctly, but it was a lot more muted. The kind of twin arcs was a lot more of a thing. Supergirl's just kind of like, I don't want to be on this adventure, and then she's like, are you sure? And Supergirl in the comic was like, okay, I'll go on the adventure with you. The comic book is kind of like Lord of the Rings in space with Supergirl, where here it's like not really that. But yeah, it's pretty much exactly what I expected, so I liked it a lot better than most people seem to. So Aiden, after I droned on for 15 minutes, what is your thoughts on Supergirl?
There's parts of Supergirl I really like. I think Millie Alcock is a very good Supergirl. I like her arc, and I'm excited to see her in Superman 2. I think, despite not really fitting, I think Jason Momoa does fine as Lobo for what it is. I like, especially the first, 30 minutes, the part that's a direct adaptation of the comic. I was like, okay, I don't see why people are shitting on this so much. This is interesting and cool. And then, I think this movie suffers from being too focused on its plot, because it has a lot of similarities, and part of it's the James Gunn thing, but it has a lot of similarities to Guardians of the Galaxy in a way, in a vibe kind of way.
I feel like the film is almost hurt by the fact that it feels like James Gunn really wanted to direct this but didn't have time. Yeah. So then he just made some other guy do it for him.
Yes. But, you know, when you think of Guardians of the Galaxy, there's like a whole bunch of just like wacky adventures in that movie. Not like horribly unrelated to what's going on, but you know, the Guardians go and get arrested by the Nova Corps and get in shenanigans with John C. Reilly, and they go to meet the Collector, and there's like eventually some action stuff that happens there, but they hang out with the Collector, and he's a strange little man who has Howard the Duck in a box and stuff. This movie doesn't really have that whimsy during the second act. It feels like there was probably a better version of this script that kind of just went with the flow a little more. And probably the Warner Brother executives were like, this is fucking weird, and it doesn't have people punching each other.
Where's Lex Luthor? Or a woman trying to sell deadly perfume.
What is this scene where they go to a weird alien planet and meet weird creatures have to do with the plot? And so they rewrote the entire middle section of the movie to just be like, and then they go to a planet and the pirates are there and they punch each other, and then Supergirl gets like poisoned, and then the pirates go to another planet and they go there and they fight them again, and that happens like 4 times in a row, and it gets really, really tedious. And then the movie gets pretty decent at the end again. It feels a little clumsy coming out of the second act, but you can tell where the comics' bones are, and they're very strong bones. But I'm guessing by Warner Bros. Mandate, they had to shove in a bunch of like, the pirates have to keep appearing, otherwise people will be confused.
People will forget about the pirates, and Supergirl doesn't shake her fist at them every half hour. Supergirl
has to punch the pirates a lot, but they have to... She can't just like fucking obliterate them, so there has to be something that happens. There's no like fun or whimsy in the middle section where they just go somewhere to get information and meet some weird people and maybe get in some little unrelated tangent. It just like continuously has this cycle of like they go to the pirates, they kind of lose, they go to the pirates, they kind of lose. There's probably a better version of this movie, and by that I mean the comic book, where the first 40 minutes of this movie happens, and then instead of a bunch of stuff that's relevant to the plot happening, they go on some fun, weird space adventures, and the characters have opportunities to bond over things other than the main plot.
The hard thing, to your point too, is like the comic book is an ongoing series. I mean, it was never meant to last super long term, but
yeah,
it was an ongoing series. So the lady's like, I'm gonna stay with you until we can avenge my parents, and then Supergirl's like, I guess, and then they kind of just travel around and do other things.
Yeah,
like I remember one point they like solve a plague on a random planet that was gonna like die. Which I think might be the planet that was like dark and like the sky was dying or something. And they were kind of sold out to people there. It's been like 5 years since I've read the book, but
yeah. I think there's a lot of things to like here. And the movie comes together in a clumsy way, I'm gonna guess primarily on account of WB and also James Gunn having a million things to do besides directing this movie, so someone who's not James Gunn is trying to be James Gunn in this scenario, and there aren't many people like James Gunn out there.
Yeah,
there's something to this, and a lot of that something is from the comic, I imagine. It almost gets there, but it just doesn't really come together. And also, the final needle drop is just horrendous. It's just terrible. Just awful. Terrible needle drop. But, also I like when David Cornsweet shows up, but I don't understand why he keeps calling Supergirl on his space phone. And he does video calls, and he's always in his Superman suit, which leads me to believe he just hangs out at home in the Superman suit all day instead of putting on normal clothes.
Yeah.
I guess
he only has his space phone at the Fortress of Solitude, so he's not found out or something. And we only see him in the movie in Superman in the Fortress of Solitude in his Superman clothes, because I guess he probably flies out there. Maybe they're just really comfortable secretly, and he's like, well, if I'm at the Fortress, I might as well wear my... Like, when I go home, I slip into my sweatpants and my t-shirt. Maybe it's the equivalent.
They're made of, like, super cotton. They're just super luxurious.
Super I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, in the Superman movie, every time he goes to the base is because he's either fighting somebody or he got injured fighting someone. He got injured by the Bolivarian hammer.
It seems really inconvenient that every time he wants to make a space phone call, he has to fly halfway across the planet.
Yeah, maybe he's just hanging out there doing other things, and he's like, I should probably call
doing
Superman
taxes or something.
Well, he's, typing.
Filing some paperwork.
He's got those robots, which I suppose probably do a lot of the house chores and, like, feed his exotic animals. I don't know if Superman has his exotic animals yet. I hope that happens. Because, like, in the comic book, Superman just has a full-ass zoo in the Fortress of Solitude. He's like, you want to see what a Kryptonian elephant looks like? And then they're like, that's a Kryptonian elephant. And people are like, whoa, nice, dude.
Cool. Nice elephant, man.
He's like, yeah, I keep him in captivity. He's was the last of his kind. He was actually poached. I stole him from his mother.
Yeah, it's a clumsy movie, but there are elements there are a lot of good elements to it, despite how clumsy it is. And I think a lot of those elements are going to shine very well in Superman 2.
Yeah.
Connor, would you recommend Supergirl?
Well, here's my preamble. I think the movie is kind of like... I think the movie's a lot more unique and looks a lot better than, like, most Marvel movies. But Marvel movies have the Rotten Tomato formula down pat. This movie doesn't follow a formula. It's really unique. Obviously, it's a pretty good adaptation of the comics for certain parts of it. And I think that kind of worked to both its benefit and its kind of harms the movie. So what I would recommend doing is, as homework before going in, read the comic. You can read I think I have, like, the complete edition that I bought on Comicsixology like 5 years ago for like $3 on a sale. Actually, they're having a Summer of Supergirl sale right now on Comicsixology. Pick it up and thumb through it. It'll take you like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then from there, see the movie. Because that is going... If you're interested from there, see the movie. Because you're like, okay, that was an okay adaptation of that. And the only reason I say that is because you should probably go in understanding what this actually is, because the marketing is really not super clear on what the fuck you're actually going to watch. It's nothing like, well, there's elements, but it's not really that much like Superman. I think it has a very clumsy second act. I really like the comic it's based on, so I enjoyed it, and I thought there were a lot of good elements. I thought, like, the cinematography and the lead was really good, and I'm excited to see more, hopefully. But yeah, no, there's some clumsy stuff. So just go in probably doing some homework, or watch a YouTube video. I'm sure someone beat for beat recapped it.
Yeah.
Or like Comics Tropes. We like him.
Yep.
He did a video on it recently. He's pretty good. So you
that
can
one's
watch
more about the artwork, but I'm
still,
sure he's done another one.
Still, look at the artwork so you can be like, okay, this is Supergirl going to weird planets doing random shit. Because I feel like if I didn't have any clue going in and all of a sudden I was flying around random space planets, it feels like almost something like I kind of knew what I was getting into, which helped me, I think, get my legs quicker, perhaps. I don't know. I think I would recommend it. I liked it, but I don't think it's for everybody. So Aiden, would you recommend Supergirl?
I don't know. My gut instinct is yes. However, I didn't terribly like the movie.
It's kind of that's kind of the thing, isn't it?
It has a lot of good elements, but it's such a strange little mess that I don't know. I don't really know how I don't know. I don't know.
You can always just do a cop out and say watch it on HBO Max while you fold laundry.
Watch the first
cop out.
Watch the first 40 minutes intently on HBO Max, and then once Lobo shows up, you can do some chores until the end.
And then actually, there will be a point. Lobo's gonna show up, and you can just fold laundry, and you'll have about 45 minutes to fold laundry. And then Lobo literally says, "Okay, I'm out of here, boys," and then he flies off. So you just gotta listen for Jason Momoa saying, "Okay, I'm out of here, boys," and flying off, and then you can start watching again because it gets good again.
Yeah,
I think it's
something like that.
It's not even Lobo's. We're making it sound like it's Lobo's fault. To clarify, it's not entirely Lobo's fault.
No,
it's just the second act.
Lobo's one of the better parts of the stupid action scenes.
The problem is, Lobo is where they had to just start making shit up clumsily to make it hit the action mandates and make it a superhero action movie and not a boring movie where they fly around.
Lobo.
They cut out the arc about like space genocide and space racial profiling and stuff. They said this isn't gonna work in the Supergirl fucking movie, so cut it out and have Jason Momoa fling around in CGI.
We can't have these boring scenes where Supergirl goes to a lizard planet and meets a fucking lizard and whatever. She has to fucking punch the.
She's gotta punch the fuck out of these
pirates.
It basically they were like, can we like lean into the sound of freedom, the sound of freedom angle? Yeah. Can we lean into the sound of freedom angle? It's the white boys' sound of freedom. No, I guess the white boys' sound of freedom is the sound of freedom. I don't know what I'm smoking saying that. Into the DC Cinematic Universe's Sound of Freedom. I'm gonna put that as, when I do the retrospective in like 6 months, you better believe that's gonna be the white boys' Sound of Freedom. I wonder what people look at that caption.
All I know is I'm excited to see Supergirl again.
Hopefully she's presumably gonna be a Man of Tomorrow to some degree.
She's been confirmed to be a major character in it, according to something I read like 5 seconds ago when we were leaving the theater, but
that would make sense since she's like, I'm home and I'm now going to be a major character in the Man of Tomorrow to Clark Kent at the end of the movie.
Yeah, that is that is what she says at the end of the movie.
More or less. Yeah, I think Diet James Gunn.
James Gunn.
You know, it's actually a lot like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 in a lot of ways, where it's like really good to start and really good to finish, but the middle is really meandering.
Yeah, that's a good.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2 people actually liked, but I think that was
like
Phase 3 bias because I hate them. Well, I don't hate it, I just don't like it.
It has the structure of Guardians 2 and the same problems as Guardians 2, but a like vaguely similar plot to Guardians 3.
Yeah.
Like, kind of superficially, but it's kind of like also similar.
You're absolutely correct.
And it lacks the charm of Guardians 1.
Yeah.
To some extent.
I think Millie Adcock was pretty charming, but I think every other character was pretty much just kind of there. I was kind of thinking they would just... I had a fear that Lobo was going to show up, be there the entire time, and just be Drax the Destroyer.
I was really scared of that as soon as the little girl started talking to him, that he was going to be like, okay, I'll come along and be in the rest of the movie. I was like, oh, fuck.
Despite the preamble of me being a super evil villain, I'm actually a good guy. The Lobo character. Except for when it's necessary and or funny to make him evil.
Yeah.
Ah, fuck. Superman, my arch nemesis. I have to team up with him for the 86th
I like when he gets tired being in the movie and starts bombing the sex slaves before flying off on his motorcycle.
Hey, you know what? Some of the sex slaves could have survived, but I just think falling down in a metal box unsecured from 700 feet probably...
From crashing into the side of a mountain.
They were...
They would have been turned into fucking putty in that
Okay,
cage.
well, they survived in that one. They actually also, we saw some of them submerge in the second fight scene. I think Lobo's just at the sound of freedom, baby. And then pulled out his little shotgun and smoked his cigar.
They didn't give him a space shotgun, he just had a space hook.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Ed Boon hasn't changed his profile picture from the really, really fucking funny. His profile picture on Twitter is a split image with half of it being Batman and half of it being Scorpion. I'm surprised he hasn't honored his favorite character in the world, Lobo.
I like how DC pays this man, or Warner Brothers pays this man millions of dollars to make Mortal Kombat shit, and it's like good in spite him. He's like, alright, so Mortal Kombat lore, Ninja Turtles and Ash from Evil Dead fight Lobo and the Predator.
Can we put Lobo and the Predator in this one?
And they're like, hey, Ed, this is a Mortal Kombat game, right? And he's like, yeah. And they're like, why is 87% of the roster just random characters?
From horror movies or DC
At least the
books?
stuff owned by Warner Brothers, like whatever. But like, you know, Ash, they had the license from Universal. The Ninja Turtles from Nickelodeon.
Ash, they announced Ash, and then Universal pulled out of it, so they had to be like, oopsie. Yeah. And also Bruce Campbell got really sad about it and went on an interview and he was getting all teary-eyed. He was like, I was really excited to be in Mortal Kombat, but then Universal said no.
I think Bruce Campbell deserves to be in Mortal Kombat. That's fucked up. They did him like that. I think Bruce Campbell also deserves to play Lobo. I think they should just have any actor who wants to play
Lobo.
I don't think Jason Momoa should be able to hog it, you know?
Dolph Lundgren is Lobo.
Yeah. You know, and who says he has to
Millie
stay a
Bobby
man?
Brown is Lobo.
Who says he has to be a man the whole time? John Cena as Lobo, even though he's also Peacemaker. Peacemaker season 3 is gonna star Lobo and John Cena having to make it through the world.
Macaulay Culkin as Lobo. Michael Jackson as Lobo.
CGI Grand Moff Tarkin as Lobo.
Have you seen that? Have you seen the interview with the guy who directed Men in Black 2 where he talked about Michael Jackson's cameo?
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah.
Where Michael Jackson wrote him a letter saying he wanted to be in Men in Black since he was a baby.
The first movie came out when he was like 40, bro.
The first movie came out 2 years before.
He could have read the independent comic book it was based on. That is pretty
from
low
like 1992.
From 1992. Yeah, granted,
he wasn't a baby then.
Mind you, when Men in Black came out, he'd already he was well past Thriller at that point. I think he already had Bad out. He was
full white at that point.
Yeah, Maybe if he counts his alopecia taking over. It's not alopecia. It's some other fucking thing. Well, anyways, Michael Jackson wanted to be Lobo since he was a baby.